So Peter Fuljoen, welcome to Let's Talk Automotive and our review of the Ford Tourneo. What is this? This is a 2-litre diesel.
It's a 2-litre bi-turbo diesel.
All right.
It's the limited edition auto.
Well,
short wheelbase.
just to confuse us a little bit. Listen, I'm looking forward to this because this must be sort of like the ultimate long trip family type of vehicle.
I'm glad you think of it that way. I don't know why, when it comes to the Fords and their vans, think about bank robberies and kidnapping. But anyway, that's just my warp mind. So let's hope we can convert to the family show.
Okay, so listen, this is sort of their commercial sort of platform that's now converted into a passenger vehicle. The Transit versus the Tourneo.
Yes.
But I'm impressed, man. Everything that I'm seeing here is like, look at the headlights on this car.
The headlights are fantastic. What we've got on this, for example, is bi-xenon high-intensity discharge lights. And you may remember from our How Things Work segment. So the xenon lights are fantastic. They've got a proper projector beam lens, so we're nice and focused and bright. But there's also other design cues that I've been impressed with.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of manufacturers are very guilty of taking a commercial-based platform, trying to convert it into a passenger car type of scenario and fail at it. But I mean, you look at
You pointed this out. There's like a vent that goes all the way through.
Yeah, so there's a vent over here that allows the airflow through here, and you can see it's open on this side.
Yeah.
And that creates a bit of a curtain of air around the tires, which means that the rims themselves don't put up as much wind resistance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of attention to detail, actually.
There's no mistake when you look at the front of this car that it's a Ford. This grille's very, very Ford-like.
Very Ford-like. So, I think they've done a great job.
If we walk around it, this is something interesting that I picked up. This is a 17-inch commercial tire.
So what's the availability of these tires in practical terms?
So interesting, when I saw the size, it's a 215/60/17 commercial, and I phoned one of my mates in the tire shops, and there's no stock of this tire, this specific Michelin tire, which makes it a little bit tricky. You need to sort of think about these things, and maybe it's available from the Ford dealership itself.
So just keep that in mind and maybe carry an extra bit of protection. We also have those RevTech boys that can make sure your tires don't go flat. Some other unique designs.
Yeah.
To have the lock
so far away from interesting.
Almost a bit retro.
And something that's very practical for me is the sliding door on both sides.
Yes. And I'm glad it's not electric.
Yeah.
Because these electric doors that slide just create so many problems.
Yeah.
Especially with the sensors that move and get knocked around, and eventually the doors get confused.
Yeah.
But another thing that we've got here is also bonded windows.
Yes.
Which are a nice touch. It's an expensive touch,
yes,
but it's good for the aerodynamics and the look of the vehicle as well.
On the outside, lastly, I want to talk about the back here. This is probably one of the biggest folding doors I've seen. You can almost just leave it like this and camp under here.
I was actually looking at that. So, quite often when we do our tournaments, our horse riding, our horse pilotcross tournaments, we actually put a little
gazebo type
gazebo next to the bucky.
This is more
so
than
we could just sit here with a lot of protection from the sun and watch the games.
Space at the back here with the seats in this configuration. Sufficient?
Oh, it's plenty. I mean, you know, unlike some of the previous types of vans that we were used to, there's no engine over here.
Yeah.
So you've got more space, you've got versatility with the ability to fold the seats down. You've got a few pockets of areas where you can...
12-volt socket.
Your 12-volt socket. This is obviously part of the air conditioning system because it's such a big vehicle.
Spare wheel underneath.
Yeah, spare wheel underneath, so obviously...
Jack that down.
Wind the wheel down.
Listen, I think we should go for a drive.
But before we go for a drive, Fani, I've got one question for you. We've spoken about some of the aerodynamic designs that they've implemented on this vehicle. So ultimately, what do you think is the drag coefficient of this vehicle?
So if I remember correctly, you said a brick has got a drag coefficient of 1.
Yeah.
Okay. So...
And remember what the model Tesla X was?
The Tesla was the most aerodynamic SUV on the market, and that was 0.24.
Correct.
Okay, so that this is probably at half a brick at 0.5.
0.5, okay. And in fact, it's 0.35, which is incredibly
Yes,
impressive.
like that is crazy.
Yeah.
So they actually got that right.
They got it right, and you can see.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's go for a drive.
Alrighty.
Okay, so Peter, this is quite different to our normal sort of review.
It's almost refreshing. You so far away.
This is the first time that we're doing a bus. So we thought that we would switch it up a little bit, and I'm sitting in the back.
And how's it in the back? I mean, you know, with the pitching of the vehicle, we're going over all these bumps. How are you feeling? Because it is a leaf suspension, rear suspension.
That's very interesting, eh?
Yeah, but it's a single leaf, so when people hear leaf suspension, they go, oh, that's old tech. But the single leaf suspensions are actually quite advanced suspensions. So how's it feeling for you in the back?
No, I'm very comfortable. But the space is insane, Pete.
It is insane, and it's nice and quiet inside as well. So I've been quite impressed with that, because obviously the bigger the surface area that you expose to the airflow, the more opportunity for noise you've got. And we've got very big side mirrors, which are traditional sources of wind noise, and we're really not hearing a thing. And also those bonded windows that we spoke about during our walk around, I think are also part of why this is so quiet inside. So it's really, really impressive so far. Well, first of all, we've got an automatic start-stop. It's a function I still got to get my head around, but I suppose from a fuel-saving point of view, it's worth having. And we've spoken about how they work, so there's no damage that it causes to the engine or anything like that. And then we do have a few modes over here as well. As you said, we've got an eco mode and we've got a normal mode. So the eco mode is going to change a few of the mapping settings of both the gearbox and the engine revs and the throttle responsiveness as well. So yeah, some of those, we've got a whole lot of functions on the steering wheel. So we've got adaptive cruise control. So there's obviously a radar sensor that we've got here that will keep us safe from the vehicles in front of us. And we've got other functions including our volume control and our telephone control and all those good things.
Fuel consumption that they printed in their specs is 6.7 liters to 100 k's. Was that right?
Yeah, and it looks, if they're getting that, that's incredible. It would be nice if we had this as a bit more of a long term that we can test it, because that is impressive stuff. And I mean, it takes away all arguments as to why people traditionally wouldn't buy such a big vehicle is over fuel consumption and performance for that matter. So from a performance point of view, this is very, very sprightly. I'm not feeling inadequate at all. It remains to be seen what the fuel consumption is. We'll have to just take their word on it.
Okay, so Peter, this is a first. We're back to back. And I'm looking out the rear window, which is the weirdest thing ever. There's another Ford Ranger behind us. It looks quite...
He looks impressed.
Yeah, he looks impressed with this vehicle.
I mean, he must be, because he's coming up so close to us.
So at the back, Pete, there's stuff like this sort of blind that you can put up here. It's a very... I almost feel like a famous person in an executive jet now.
Yeah, have you ever flown in an executive jet?
I have, yeah. Just a small little Cessna Citation, but this is very similar.
Yeah.
It's a very similar feel to that. I've got my own aircon settings at the back here. The air vents. I've got reading lights. The only thing that I'm missing back here, Pete, is a stewardess. Can I? Where's my button? Where's my button to call a stewardess?
And I think another thing that people might be concerned about with seats facing the wrong way is that they're going to get motion sickness. How are you feeling?
No, maybe not enough time to tell, but I don't think so, Pete. It's very comfortable.
All right, so Fani, what speed do you think we are doing?
110.
110. We're doing over 120. I'm not going to say how much more, but we're just doing a little bit over 120, and vehicle's quiet.
Yes.
It feels stable. It's awesome.
Pete, I'm very happy, man. I think what we should do is give our sort of rating out of 10, and then answer the question if we would buy this or not. So I'm going to start off, if you don't mind.
You go first.
I think this is a definite yes for me, because it's something that I've always actually have been interested in. I've got the two daughters. My wife you know, her job is traveling from school to school. She needs this space. So I think this ticks a lot of boxes. I just don't know if she's going to be happy to drive something like this. The look for her, I think she always sort of feels that, I don't know, maybe it's not cool enough. But this ticks all the cool boxes. So I would, for me personally, say yes, I would definitely buy this. And this is a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me, Pete.
So if we consider again the other vehicles that it plays against in this segment, that, as you said earlier, they're either massively more expensive, but then they've got the tech to go with them. The V-Class, for example, is an astounding vehicle, but you pay for it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I look at rand for rand, pound for pound, what we can purchase, and ultimately what the usage is. So I'm with you on the 8.5 out of 10. Would I buy it? I love a van. And I think that this Ford is different enough for me. And that's also key. It's not going to be one of the run-of-the-mill types of family vans. So I think on that basis, I would say I would buy this vehicle.
Okay, awesome, Pete. So that's us and our experience and review on the Ford Tourneo bus. Thanks to the guys at BB Ford Menlyn for giving us the vehicle to review. And if you're in the market, please give them a shout. Go to their website, www.bbgroup.co.za. Click on the Ford button. They've got a couple of Ford dealers and they'll sort you out. We'll see you guys next time.
Cheers, everyone.